Hi, my name's Jason, and I'm here to talk about my Goonies custom visual pinball machine. This is a project that I started back in 2010. I read an article in Maximum PC talking about visual pinball, and I was hooked. I found a water-damaged Demolition Man cabinet on Craigslist. I then sourced three televisions, and then with the help of my brother Tom, we cut up the cabinet and installed the three TVs and some fans in the back. Unfortunately, the project went on hold for the next 13 years, but here we are today and it's finally playable. So I know visual pinball machines are pretty common today, but the reason I'm making this video is this one is unique in the fact that it's not running Windows. Instead, it's running Batocera Linux and Visual Pinball Standalone. If you're not familiar with Batocera Linux, basically it's a Linux distro that is tailored towards retro gaming enthusiasts. Out of the box, it has tons of emulators pre-installed and ready to go, and it uses the great emulation station as the front end. If you're not familiar with Visual Pinball Standalone, it's a side project in the Visual Pinball repo that adds true native cross-platform support. Remember, Visual Pinball is over 20 years old and it's based on really old Microsoft technologies such as ActiveX, COM, and VBScript. I've been working with the Visual Pinball developers to make it run on other platforms other than Windows. And I'm a Mac guy, and I've always wished Visual Pinball could run on it. So over the past year and a half, we got it working on Mac, Linux, iOS, Android, and then tvOS. We even have builds for Raspberry Pi and Orange Pi 5, although Visual Pinball really needs a lot of horsepower, so it struggles on those machines. So back to the Goonies custom visual pinball machine. Let me give you some specs. This is a Williams Demolition Man wide body cabinet that came out in early 1994. It had two giant handles with flipper buttons and thumb buttons. The cabinet is unique in the fact that the back box brackets were different. They allowed the head to fold down and miss the handles. So we had to relocate the holes and use the regular Williams brackets. Starting from the top, the back box uses a 30-inch Philips television. I tried to find the largest possible TV at the time that could fill up the entire back box. The TV has HDMI, but we're using VGA. When it's in HDMI mode, it leaves an input selector on the screen, and we definitely don't want that. So the DMD is a 15-inch Dynex TV from Best Buy. It's the correct width, but the hole, we had to make the hole a little bit bigger so that it would fit. The playfield is a 46-inch Sharp Aquos TV. It's probably hard to tell from this video, but it's actually a little bit wider than the cabinet. We found out this the hard way when my brother had to fabricate the side rails. And all of this just fits. We used a real lockdown bar, and we did have to do some trimming to the plastic pieces where the glass slides into. The speakers are flipper fidelity speakers. There's two in the back box and one sub, and I picked these up a couple years ago at the Allentown Pinfest. They are powered by a LaPi amp. For the cabinet artwork, I didn't want to use the typical virtual pinball artwork you see on other machines. After seeing VPin Workshop's Goonies table, I was just blown away. Plus, the Goonies is a family favorite movie. So I reached out to the VPW team, and they pointed me to the original art designer, Stuza. After giving him all the measurements, I received a perfectly formatted PDF file that I was able to take to a local printing company here in Scranton, and it came out much nicer than I could have ever hoped for. On to the internals. The current PC is vintage 2010. It's an MSI P55 GD65 with an Intel 870 running at 2.93 gigahertz, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and an NVidia GTX 1060. For I/O, we're using a Pinscape controller and the expansion board. I built the expansion board from MJR's awesome website and his great documentation. It uses a regular Williams coin door. Again, it's using a breakout board designed by MJR again. This way I could use the factory connector on the coin door. Many wide-body games from that time period used optos for the flippers. And I know it would have been real easy to just use leaf switches, but I was trying to keep some parts of the project from that time period. And then Other than the optos needing 12 volts, they just work with the Pinscape. We needed to add 2 additional flipper buttons to be used for magnet saves, and these use regular leaf switches. So other than that, we just added one more button, this red button here that acts as the quit button. It'll take you back to Emulation Station. And then we 3D printed some bezels that fit in there tight. This way, when we were trimming out the artwork, you know, you wouldn't see the marks from the X-Acto knife. So kind of looks factory there. Currently the Pinscape is pretty much stock. I've made no customizations. It just, the only thing that we have set up is it'll emit 3 infrared codes to turn on the TVs. The power switch is a momentary switch, turns on the PC, which turns on the PC's power supply. That triggers a 12-volt relay, which energizes a power strip for the TVs. And the Pinscape waits about 10 seconds and then sends out those IR codes I just talked about. As for the software, we're using Batocera 39 Beta. Visual Pinball Standalone has been included starting in Batocera 38. The Visual Pinball devs have made a ton of improvements, so the beta is using a much more recent build. So Batocera uses Emulation Station for selecting the games. We're currently using the Carbon theme, and it's set up to use the game carousel. The game carousel uses marquee images for the wheel images, and I've changed the theme color to orange to match the cabinet artwork. The ES inputs file has been hand updated, and it allows you for selecting a game with the flipper buttons. You can do paging up and down with the MagnaSave buttons. And then if you hit the start button, it'll take you back. And if you hit the launch button, it'll take you forward. And now for the technical stuff. Since Emulation Station is designed for one screen, we have a custom shell script that launches on startup. The script simply extends the desktop to include the back box and DMD screens using xrandr. The script also launches VPX Display Server, which is a small application that I wrote that can send images to the back glass or DMD. When games are selected in Emulation Station, you'll see that it changes the back glass in real time. All right, so let's see the Goonies in action. So I'm gonna push the start button. All right, and each table takes about 10 to 15 seconds to load. It's going to display an image and then transition right into the game. Up top, we're using B to S, and we've ported that from Visual Basic to C++. The DMD is using Flex DMD since this is a custom game, and we've ported Flex DMD from C# to C++. And then to go in, I'm going to add some coins. All right, so next up is Cuphead, and Cuphead is another custom homebrew pinball machine that was turned into a visual pinball table. Next up, we have Tron, and Tron is using a colorized DMD using the Serum format. So Visual Pinball Standalone totally supports the Serum format along with ZEDMD.
Now, I couldn't be in there all the time. So I created a program in my own head that could think. Something you expected out.
All right, and then a pinball classic, Monster Bash.
Welcome to the Monster Bash! C is for cough, and I don't even have a cold! It's nice to see you're back!
So to be honest, this PC is definitely showing its age, and I'm going to replace it with something modern very soon. I had a goal to stick with what I bought back in 2010, and regardless, it's still impressive that it can render the back glass, draw the segments, render a DMD, and play a VPin workshop table on hardware this old. It can even render a table in stereo using some fancy 3D glasses. So one of the challenging issues with Visual Pinball on Batocera is getting the table artwork, the table videos, the wheel images, and getting them right. Since the table file names are in so many different formats, scraping is really challenging. In VPX Display Server, I've added some features that can help capture some of these images. So let's walk through the process of adding a new game, two new games, Corvette and Harley Davidson. To add tables to Batocera, you're simply going to use a program like FileZilla to transfer the files over. You'll want to get your files organized. So for example, for Corvette, we're going to get our VPX file. We're going to have our direct B to S file. Make sure that they have the same names. You can put the pin name folder directly inside of the Corvette folder. This way you can have all your games nicely organized. And then I like to have a wheel image as well. So same thing, I've done the same thing. Now Harley Davidson needs a custom VBS right now to run. So you'll see that this is all packaged the same way. So you're going to take the two files here and simply drag them in. And then you're going to wait for this to finish. If you made it to the end of this video, I just wanted to say thank you very much for watching. In the description below, you can find links to this project and anything else we've talked about. Visual Pinball Standalone does have a channel in the Virtual Pinball Chat Discord server, and the link is also in the description. Thanks.